Could you have prediabetes? Hey, I'm Debra Atkinson. I'm the founder of Flipping 50. For the last 10 years, I've been doing nothing but serving women in perimenopause to postmenopause. And I've heard so many women say, I can't believe it. My doctor said I'm pre-diabetic, but I've always eaten healthy. I've always exercised and been health conscious. It could happen to you too, and let's talk about how to prevent it. How would you know that you might be pre-diabetic or it's time to pay attention so you don't become one? Women in midlife, perimenopause, and beyond are more susceptible to negative effects of hormones and blood sugar levels. It's also related to stress. So let's talk about it. Number one, frequent urination has always been associated with diabetes. So if that's striking you and it's more than feelings of incontinence or pressure after having children, it's come on and it's much more sudden or related to signs and symptoms that you might otherwise have, or even if you don't have otherwise existing symptoms, frequent urination, daytime or nighttime, is one of them. Number two, mood swings and emotional outbursts. Now this one is kind of challenging because a lot of women during perimenopause will find that they're a little more moody, that things are feeling a little bit more out of control physically, and therefore that affects us mentally, psychologically as well. But if you're feeling like, okay, I'm pulling this together and I not only have that, but maybe have something else on this list, just pick up clues for right now. The third one is energy fluctuations. Again, for women in midlife who potentially might not be sleeping as well, energy fluctuations, probably the day after a poor night's sleep, are normal, natural for any of us. But if you're feeling like these energy fluctuations are coming regularly throughout the day, or even consistently but irregularly, they're not predictable for you, but yet you're feeling like there's ups and downs, like sometimes you could feel great, but it's unpredictable whether you'll really be up for a certain event or to do something, because you never know when that's going to strike. Hang on to that one. Sudden ravenous hunger. For me, when I think about this and describe it, it reminds me of when I was pregnant. You know, everybody gets hungry 3 or 4 hours after a meal. It's pretty normal to get hungry. Your body has digested its food and you'd start thinking, yeah, I could eat something. But I remember for me when I was pregnant, it was like, I need to eat and I need to eat now. And that's what we're talking about. Just feeling like I really have to have something now. And I'll tie that to the next one, which is weakness, dizziness, fatigue, almost potentially nauseousness as a result of the fluctuations, the ups and downs, and potentially tied to the hunger as well. Last but not least is belly fat, and that could be with or without gaining weight elsewhere, but you're noticing belly fat deposit. So you could be a small framed woman who hasn't noticed weight gain, but you've noticed a redistribution around the belly. Those are all signs of prediabetes and blood sugar levels that are not ideal. So what's a woman to do about it? These things. Number one, add muscle and move your muscles. So number one and number two really go hand in hand. You're going to add muscle and make sure you're prioritizing strength training. And that doesn't mean that we're against cardio. It just, cardio falls down in terms of worrying about target heart rate training, or that what we were taught back in the 70s and the 80s really doesn't apply to the hormone status we have now. We want to move, it's true, but you're going to get some cardiovascular effect doing strength training as well. But what we want to do is make sure that first we're maintaining muscle, and then we want to move that muscle. So exercise may be a part of that, but more important to that, more important to our ability to stay within an optimal body composition, meaning fat percent stays low to moderate and our lean muscle mass is greater, we're going to need to move that all day, meaning we're active all day. We want to do the extra things around the house that we see being done. We want to garden, we want to golf, we want to walk the dog, we want to walk with our friends. We are up for experiences in living. So if you're finding that you're couch compensating more often and saying no to extra activities because of fatigue, part of that may be you're reducing your lean muscle mass, you're a loss for it, so you don't have as much energy. So the first thing you want to do is prioritize your strength training, then just make sure it's actually working for you. You're fueling so that you feel like moving all day. Muscle is like a sponge for blood sugar. So the more muscle you have and the more then that you move that muscle, the better off your blood sugar levels will be. Number 2 is go low carb. Here, I said lower, not no carb. So no carb and keto can get a little bit out of control, and a lot of women may find that they're constipated, don't have any energy. Moods can tank because of that, because of serotonin levels are actually enhanced by eating the right kind of carbohydrates at the right time. We'll talk about that too. But lower carbohydrate probably than you were used to 10 or 20 years ago, because you're not going to process them as well. That all is an effect of the estrogen and other hormonal changes that occur in midlife. So you're not as good as using those blood sugars up, but you want to make sure that you've got some available so that you've got good energy, you have the ability to poop, because our fiber is generally comes in the form of a sweet potato or brown rice and quinoa. Next, time those carbohydrates right. So yes, you want to choose the good ones, but there is room for other extracurricular carbohydrates if you have it at the right time. Move your carbs to the end of your meal. So you're having vegetables, proteins first, and then you're having your carbohydrates at the end. So you don't miss out on the benefits of vegetables can kind of coat your stomach. You want to get all that protein in before you're full. Carbohydrates can take up the room of some of that protein if you eat it first. So when they bring that bread basket to the table, push it away, say bring that back later. They bring the chips and the salsa, say again, push that away until they bring your meal. So you're eating the protein and the veggies first, carbs last. The impact on your blood sugar will be far lower than if you eat them first. Just changing the order, not even changing the amount of your carbohydrates. That alone will help. Next, go high protein by hitting at least 30 grams 3 times a day. Now that's a minimum, that's a great start. If you are a woman who weighs, say 150 pounds, just for example's sake, you actually want to shoot for closer to 150 grams of protein if that's your ideal body weight. So you want to be looking at first, just a per meal basis, trying to get at least a minimum of 30 grams of protein so that you're helping yourself keep your blood sugar levels stable throughout the day. So remember, carbohydrates at a meal actually are going to cause a greater spike in your blood sugar levels. Well, protein and fat actually are better at helping you stabilize blood sugar levels. So when you evenly distribute protein throughout the day, you're actually helping stabilize your mood, your creativity, your ability to problem solve, probably work through problems at your work, do creative work much better. Next, add more veggies of all colors. So the more veggies you get, the more fibrous kinds of foods. So fiber comes again in the form of those resistant starches like sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, beans, legumes. But fibrous veggies, more like your green beans and your asparagus, your broccoli, cauliflower, your carrots, your beets, all of those have more fibrous kinds of foods. And those are great to coat your gut. Those are good for digestion as well. And all of those, again, will help you fill up without filling out and help to stabilize your blood sugar levels. Drink at least half of your body weight in ounces of water. So your body weight in pounds, half of that in ounces of water. I weigh 130. I want to drink about 60 to 65 ounces of water every single day. So start, I gamify this. So I'll have a glass of water first thing in the morning. It's waiting there actually on the counter for me. I like mine room temperature, so that's perfect. It's just been sitting there all night. I'll have a cup of matcha tea or a cup of coffee, but I play a game. So if I'm gonna have a second cup, the rule is, quote unquote, I have another glass of water in between. Now, we used to think that coffee or tea didn't count toward our water intake. We actually know as a long time ago, about 20 years ago, it all counts. All liquid counts, even coffee, caffeine, your milk. Those things count, not quite as much as water. However, you don't have to say, okay, I have to double it up. So with all of that liquid, you've got a cup of water, you've got a cup of coffee, another cup of water, maybe another cup of coffee, you've had a significant amount of water in the first couple of hours of your day. And if you keep that up, drink a glass of water prior to each meal, not necessarily so much water at the meal. You're not disrupting the digestion that you do during that meal. Then add a little bit more if you're sweating or it's hot and it's humid outdoors and you're working in it. And you may want to add electrolytes to it so you're actually absorbing that water and you're not just peeing it out. I like Element Tea. So Element is an electrolytes, got high levels of sodium compared to what we learned we needed, but it's got all the electrolytes in it, so potassium as well. And those things will actually help you absorb the water so you're not just running to the restroom when you're drinking more water. How do all these things help? Because you might be saying, but you just said frequent urination is a sign of prediabetes. What we're trying to do is keep stress levels down. Your body's going to be stressed if it's dehydrated. We want to work out, add muscle. Muscle makes you more resilient to both physical and other kinds of stressors. So the more we can decrease our stress level, our cortisol levels, we can then decrease the blood sugar spikes that happen when we are more susceptible to those stressors. And then insulin doesn't rise, and when insulin rises, we tend to put that belly fat right around the middle. So all of those things will help. And the number one thing to remember is keep your eye on it. When you're a woman in midlife, you are a little bit more susceptible. Changing some simple strategies can actually support you so well and help prevent weight gain and belly fat in midlife. Hope that was helpful. Let me know in the message down below.